Chapter 26. Trapped. The word ran back like wildfire along the creatures packed into the escape tunnel, and panic took over in the dark, airless place.
We're all going to die down here! Help! I knew we should have never tried to escape. I can't breathe! Let me out of here! At least we were alive in the stockade. It's that Brome's fault, the stupid young fool!
Something within Kayla snapped. Suddenly, the young otter was crushing and pushing, lashing out as he climbed over heads, squeezing and scraping past other creatures, bashing out with all paws and his rudder-like tail as he battled towards Brome at the blocked exit.
Get out of my way! I never came down here to suffocate and die! Let me by, you stupid sniveling moaners!
Bullying and pushing, kicking and shoving, the resourceful otter strove on through the packed, airless tunnel until he felt Brome's corsair rags in his paws.
Brome, what's the matter? Why can't we get out?
His face touching Kayla's, Brome yelled in the darkness.
We were nearly out, I'm sure of it, but the exit's caved in.
The otter pushed him backwards into the press of wailing slaves.
Get out of my way and give me space. I'll get us out of here.
With a surge of strength born of desperation, Kayla threw himself at the blockage, all four paws going like windmills. Despite the screams and cries of outrage from behind, he tore, bit, gouged, kicked, dug, and flailed at the sandy earth as it sprayed around him in gouts and showers. His shouts could be heard throughout the tunnel as he flung his body forward.
Yeah! What do you want? Some beast to dig? I'll show you how Kayla digs! Like this! And this! Woo-hoo!
The otter's nose fountained blood as it struck a large rock. Kayla wrapped his whole body around it and yanked, grunting and squeezing past the rock. He savaged the loose earth, scraping, biting, and thudding until his head burst through into the hole on the shore between the rocks. Wriggling out, Kayla spat earth and wiped his mouth out with a paw. Chuckling quietly, he shook with delight.
Just shows what you can do when you feel like it.
Brome leapt from the tunnel, casting aside his disguise and hugging Kayla tightly at the same time.
Kayla, you rogue! You did it! You got us free!
Then it was Brome's turn to act sensibly. As he helped the first slaves out of the hole, he issued instructions to Kayla.
We were trapped down there quite a while. Time was lost, and it's not long until dawn. I'm going to run to the camp and get Feldo with some others to help. I'll bring them back as quickly as I can. You must follow my paw prints, and move every beast along as fast as you possibly can. Once the fortress is roused, Batarang will have his horde out after our blood.
Dawn was crimsoning the gray from the sky as the ebb tide lapped gently on the shore. It was Blue Hide's favorite time of day. He had catnapped most of the night through his sentry watch on the wall top of Marshink. Now he stretched gratefully in anticipation of breakfast and asleep until noon. Shortly, his relief arrived, another ferret called Stumptooth. Blue Hide passed the sentry spear over happily.
It's going to be a scorcher of a day, mate. You'll sweat up here.
Stumptooth took the proffered spear and leaned heavily on it.
Aye, you're right there, Blue-Eyed. 'Tain't fair, is it? Me standing up here on guard all day while those bone-idle slaves lie around the compound scratching themselves. Don't you fret your head about the slaves, Stumpy.
Blue Hide began climbing down a wall ladder.
They're all down the prison pit. Half of 'em will be dead afore the day's through.
Stumptooth was pushing past Blue Hide on the ladder.
Slaves in the prison pit? I never seen any. I looks down there every morning when I passes.
Blue Hide landed on Stumptooth's head. They bumbled down the ladder to fall in a heap at the bottom. Scrambling on all fours, they both raced to the pit. Blue Hide's jaw went slack in dismay.
But they was there last night.
he began explaining.
I saw him go down with me own eyes. It was 2 of our horde put him down there.
Stumptooth was not listening. He was dashing for the longhouse, screaming,
Escape! Escape! The slaves have escaped!
Badring came thundering out, tripped over Gerard's body, picked himself swiftly up, and kicked the carcass bad-temperedly.
Slaves escaped? How many? Where?
From the prison pit, Lord.
Prison pit? Who put him down there?
I don't know, sire. Blue-Eyed was on duty last...
But Badring was not listening. He was dashing about the courtyard, yelling, Hisk! Fleabane! Get the horde together! Now! Half-asleep weasels, ferrets, and rats stumbled out, pulling their clothes on as they trailed weapons behind them. Badring was in a towering fury. He lashed out with the flat of his sword.
You half-baked, slobber-faced slugs! Move! There still might be time to catch those slaves. Stir your stumps, you useless blather-brained beasts! Filling your stomachs and resting your heads is about all you lot are good for!
Hisk and Fleabane scuttled about, echoing their master's threats and insults, not quite sure of what they were supposed to do. The tyrant returned to Gerard's carcass. Obviously, Clog had forestalled the assassination attempt. He would get rid of the body before Clog saw it, and started gloating. Grabbing a passing rat, Badring snarled,
You, Nipwort, bring that thing and follow me.
Nipwort struggled along behind Badring, dragging the limp figure as he tried to keep up. With a frenzied burst of energy, the tyrant stoat dragged the grating from the pit. Lying flat, he thrust his head in, and could not fail to see the escape hole.
Here, Nipwort, leave the body there and climb into this pit. See that hole in the side of the wall? Get yourself in there and see how far it goes. Report back to me when you find out where the exit is.
Before going to attend his horde, Badring watched the unhappy Nipwort climb into the escape tunnel. When the rat was lost to view, Badring pushed Gerard's body into the pit and replaced the grating with a swift heave. Trom and Clog had been up and about before Badring that day, anxious to know the result of his murderous plan. When Gruzzle and Boggs reported the finding of Oilback's body, Clog knew the scheme had failed. Hastily, they disposed of the poisoned rat, tossing him into the sea. Clog had his crew stand by fully armed, lest Badring should come seeking revenge for the attempt on his life. Crosstooth the fox took a swift glance toward Marshank's open gates.
Stand by, Captain. Here comes Badring with trouble aplenty.
Trom stood prepared as the tyrant and his horde pounded out across the shore. However, his keen ears caught the drift of what Hisk and Fleabane were shouting.
Double quick, you lot! Come on there! Lord Badring wants every last one of those slaves back!
Aye! If you don't catch those escapers, you'll find yourselves doing their work! So move!
Clog sheathed his cutlass, chewing thoughtfully on his beard pleat as an idea formed in his sly, fertile mind.
Ooh, buckos! Put up your weapons and follow me!
With a look of concern on his villainous face, the Corsair ran towards Badring, calling out aloud,
Ahoy, matey! What's the trouble?
The tyrant stoat halted, glaring suspiciously at Clog.
Didn't you know? The rest of the slaves escaped during the night.
Horror and indignation stamped themselves on the Corsair's features.
Why, the rotten bunch of scalawags! Oh, never get me new ship built now. Badring, matey, let's call a truce between us until we catch 'em. Which way do you reckon they went?
Badring could not waste time bandying words with his old adversary. He realized he would need all the help he could get to recapture the slaves.
They've probably headed south and to the cliffs. That's the way we're going.
Clog stroked the braids on his chin thoughtfully.
Ha! Maybe that's what they wants you to think, mate. Maybe they went north to fool ye. I'll take my crew that way.
Before Badring could reply, Clog had hauled out his cutlass and was running north along the shore with his Corsairs.
Come on, you flotsam!
If you ever want to feel a deck neath your paws again, you'll have to find them scummy slaves.
Badring led his horde off to the south at a lively run. Nipwood emerged from the escape tunnel. Dusting himself down, he climbed onto the rocky outcrop to get his bearings. The tracks were clear. Shading his eyes against the morning sun, Nipwood scanned the shoreline. He saw the unmistakable form of a group in the distance. They were hurrying towards the cliffs. Turning round, the rat could see Badring and the horde running in his general direction. Jumping up and down, he waved frantically.
Over here, Lord! I can see them!
Bala, Roanoke, Buckler, and Feldo, in company with 10 or more of the most able-bodied free slaves, jogged along the cliff top behind Brome. Feldo looked grim as he muttered to the hare. What a reckless little fool Brome is. He could have been captured at Marshink, or smothered in that tunnel. Bala hefted his lance lightly.
Matter of opinion, old lad. If you fail, you're a bally fool. If you win, you're a jolly hero.
Roanoke puffed along behind them, towing the cart.
Bala's right. I'd say if he pulls this off, he's a reckless hero. Who would have thought it? Young Brome!
Brome stopped. Pointing down to the shore, he yelled proudly.
There they are!
Feldo's eyes roved further afield. Aye, and look who's following on the double! Roanoke gave a great groan of dismay.
There's far too many of them for us. Our only hope is to get those poor creatures onto the cliff top up here before the horde gets to them. Come on, let's give it a try!
Stout vine ropes were anchored to rocks and thrown over the steep cliff slope. Bala roared to the slaves, projecting his voice magnificently.
I say, you chaps! Over here!
Feldo and some others shinned hurriedly down the ropes onto the shore and ran to help the stragglers. Buckler threw his paws about an old mousewife, glancing back at the pursuers.
He be coming on apace. I don't think us'll make it.
Badring's paws slapped hard on the strand as he put on a great burst of speed, calling to his horde.
Come on! We've got 'em!
Old Gayum grasped the rope. Gazing upwards, she pursed her lips.
I'll never be able to haul myself up there. What do you think I am, a young squirrel?
I don't know about a young squirrel, Mother, but you'll be a dead mouse if you hang about here. Feldo threw Gayum across his shoulder with a single heave and began hauling himself up the rope. Buckler and 6 others launched a salvo of short javelins directly at the horde. 4 of Badring's creatures fell. The rest parted ranks, spreading themselves to avoid being hit. All of the escapers were now on the ropes, scrambling up the steep cliff face. Fear of their pursuers and the scent of freedom lending speed to their paws. Feldo had delivered Gayum and hopped back down without using the ropes. Now he was on his way back up with 2 small young ones clinging to his tail. Buckler and the others were backed up hard to the cliffside as the horde advanced on them. 2 had been brought down by spears from Badring's creatures. Roanoke looked worriedly down as she called to them.
Get on the ropes! Come up here!
Brome and those on the cliff top began hurling javelins and slingstones to cover their friend's retreat. Badring dashed forward as Buckler began scrambling up the rope. He picked up a fallen javelin and hurled it. The mole cried out in agony as it took him right through the shoulder.
Hold tight, Buckler! Hold tight!
Roanoke bellowed furiously as she seized the rope in both paws and heaved mightily. Badring leaped for the rope, but found himself grasping dust. Despite the fact that there were 6 others climbing the rope above Buckler, the strength of Roanoke's tremendous pulls made the whole thing fairly fly up. She dashed backwards, muscles straining, as she towed the taut vine rope behind her. It hummed and sang under the tension, sending creatures who were clinging to it flying along the cliff top on their stomachs. Bala pulled the javelin from Buckler's shoulder.
How are you doing, old scout?
The mole winced, then smiled.
Take more'n a little old spear to slay I.
Bala! They're climbing the other ropes!
Brome's shouts brought Bala to the cliff edge. Badring was standing on the shore, directing his creatures upwards. Get on those ropes! The rest of you, start climbing! Come on! We can swarm them! They're too few to stop us! Move, you totes! Get climbing! Feldo pulled the last slave over the cliff top. Below him, he could see ferrets, rats, and weasels scaling the remaining 4 ropes, while the rest were climbing up, spurred on by Badring. Roanoke joined Feldo and stood watching. Let them get a bit closer to us. Then I'll move. Move what? Feldo looked at the badger quizzically. Those 4 large boulders the ropes are tied to, of course. Bala waggled his ears expressively. Should give the rotters something to think about, what? Let's do it now before they get any further. I'll get all the gang to lend a paw. Right, gather round, chaps, and I'll explain the drill. Badring was about to mount one of the ropes himself when he heard the ominous rumble from above. Leaping clear, he shouted up, Off! Get off the ropes! Back down, every beast, quick! Some of the horde were almost at the top. They hesitated, looking at the long drop to the shore. Others clung to the cliff face, not knowing what to do. Roanoke threw her great bulk against the first boulder. It rolled quite freely. Bala and Feldo had a thick branch under the next one. They levered down, and the boulder began moving. Brome and some others charged the third boulder with the cart, sending it on the move as the stout little vehicle bumped it forward. Amid the screams and yells of panic as the first boulder came rumbling over the edge, Roanoke dashed to the 4th and final one. She bulled into it with a deep growl. A ferret's head appeared over the cliff top as the boulder rolled forward. He gave a wail of dismay and flung himself into space. The devastation caused by the 4 boulders was considerable. They tore huge chunks out of the cliff face as they bounced downwards, and several creatures tangled in the ropes attached to the boulders were given a fast, harsh sleigh ride on their backs down the steep slope. The less fortunate were crushed in the path of the great stones or caught by them as they bounced and thudded towards the shore. Badring had pulled a score of archers back. They knelt on the beach, directing a volley of shafts upwards. Cries from the cliff top told the tyrant that his strategy was being rewarded. As Roanoke harnessed herself into the cart shafts, an arrow buried itself in the wood by her paw. Time we weren't here, Feldo. Can you and Bala get the slow and wounded in the cart double quick, please? It was but the work of a moment. The cart trundled off at a fast lick, propelled by Roanoke and every able-bodied creature. Cease fire! Hold those bowstrings! Bluehide was the last to hear. He could not stop his arrow twanging off over the cliff top, nor could he avoid the swift kick from Badring that sent him sprawling. What's the matter, Cloth Ears? Can't you tell that there's no beast up there anymore? The tyrant sighed heavily and sat on one of the boulders. Isk, Fleabane, count 'em up. How many did we lose?
15 in all, sire. About that many injured, too. We got 8 of theirs, though, and some more up on top must have been slain by arrows.
8 of theirs, Badring snorted. You mean 8 of ours? They were my slaves. The only one of theirs was the mole. I got him, though I never got him good enough to finish him off. The horde members sat about in silence, awaiting their leader's mood, which could range from indifference to foul bad temper. Badring watched them licking their wounds and retrieving their weapons. Then he summoned Hisk. Take 10. Make sure you've got a couple of good trackers. I want you to find where they've gone. When you do, report back to me at Marshink. Don't try to fight or even show yourselves. Just come straight back to me with the information. Have you got that? Hisk saluted with his spear. Yes, Lord. I will do exactly as you say. Good. When they are least expecting it, we will come in full force and ambush them. They are not soldiers or warriors. Merely escaped slaves and some ragtag actors who have been lucky so far. Captain Trom Clog sat back in Badring's chair, enjoying the comfort of the longhouse. He drank damson wine and picked his teeth with the bones of a herring he had eaten. His clogs clacked noisily as he swung his legs on the tabletop and gave Crosstooth a huge wink.
Brains! That's what you'll need to outsail your enemies. Brains!
The fox shook his head admiringly.
And you've certainly got 'em, Captain. You fooled old Badrang.
Clog's huge stomach shook with merriment.
I'll help ye to find the slave, says I. You go that way, and I'll go this way. Aye, and this is the way I goes. Straight round the back of the fortress, over the wall with me bold crew, and captures Marshank for meself. Is the gate locked, matey?
Crosstooth poured himself a beaker of wine.
Locked, barred, and bolted tight, Captain. The crew's on the walls, well fed and armed to the fangs.
Clog lost the fishbone in his stomach pleats and forgot it.
All waitin' for poor Uncle Badring to come visitin', with his tail atwixt his legs and flea in his ear.